Officer Matthew Boerwinkle, thanks for joining us on the All Night Channel. One of the jobs that you have told me is your duties is to be a safety officer and to kind of communicate some of the major issues to students. I don't know if that's high school students or all the way from K-12. But give us an overview of what you do and how you try to educate students to keep themselves safe.
Sure. Well, our Illinois State Police Safety Education Unit is a broad unit that covers all 102 counties in Illinois, and we reach out to schools K through 12 and teach a variety of subjects from cyberbullying all the way to school zone safety.
And as you also reach out, I think isn't part of that also some of the driving tips we see over your shoulder, the don't drink and drive, the click it, and some of those issues?
Yes, we focus on the fatal four traffic violations, which are DUI, speeding, seatbelt usage, and distracted driving, which has become the most epidemic of all the four fatal violations. And we are actively working with our schools, with our traffic safety partners, and community leaders to help get the message out about the distracted driving, which has become so prevalent with our young drivers and actually drivers of all ages.
How often do you go out to the schools and talk to them? And we should say it's not just you. You have several other officers doing the same thing around the state, right? How often do you engage students, and is there any way to measure success?
Success is measured in lives saved. We can't really put a tangible figure on that because the total fatality and injury numbers vary throughout the year based upon weather events, the traffic, maybe perhaps during holidays, but we know that we can see the totals coming out of IDOT and from our own agency, and we know that we're having a positive impact with those young teen drivers, especially that have an opportunity to engage with our officers. And we have 20 safety education officers throughout the state and 4 PIOs which supplement those safety education officers, and they are engaged daily with various schools throughout their districts.
Do you take questions from the audience as well when you're doing those? And share with me, if you would, like what kind of things would the students respond with?
Sure. So we absolutely seek out public engagement with the students. It's a win-win when we can have a friendly interaction with those students, and it allows an opportunity for the students to, one, see that we're human and that we aren't just a ticket-writing robot, but they want an opportunity to know and understand what our job is, and they want to know what they can do to keep themselves safe. So we often will bring them up, make them part of our training, and we also have multiple simulators where we have the seatbelts, the DUI goggles, we'll use the golf carts. They have these large tricycle type and four-wheel type pedal cars that we'll use on gymnasium floors or out in parking lots at schools. And we'd like to involve those students firsthand to experience some of the driving dangers, but in a controlled, safe environment.
You know, we were talking off camera, and this is something I think for everyone, not just young kids. So in fact, it probably pertains more to adults. When you're going to the grocery store, and if you're not putting your groceries in the trunk, you might have them in the back of a minivan or something, and you don't have a divider wall. What happens if they're in an accident and they're suddenly come to a dead stop from 40 or 60 miles an hour?
Sure. So loose articles in your vehicle can become sudden projectiles during a high-speed crash. Even a low-speed crash at 30 miles an hour, a 12-ounce can of soup hitting someone in the back of the head can cause a serious injury or even result in a fatality. So we encourage all motorists to secure your loose articles, groceries. If you make a quick run to the hardware store, put those articles in a safe place in the back of the vehicle, preferably, under some type of netting or a container like a tub or something else that would withhold those objects, and it would be up against the back of a seat. That's the surest way to help prevent those articles from hitting someone in the vehicle.
Do you ever talk, I think every motorist has an experience where we have someone on a bicycle and they're not following the traffic laws. So there's a red light and they go flying through on their bicycle. Do you talk to, I mean, a lot of kids are not driving yet. Do you go over the laws or ever bring up the dangers of bicycling? If you're not going to follow the laws, then sometimes, we can have a fatality there.
Yep, certainly. So bicyclists are kind of in a unique category where they have both traffic laws that are applicable to them if they're riding in the roadway. They also have pedestrian right-of-way if they're in a crosswalk. So bicyclists are, if they're on the roadway, they have to be over to the right, closest to the fog line, or on the shoulder if possible. However, motors, as they're passing bicycles, must do so with due caution. So it's a shared responsibility between the passing motorists, the bicyclists that have to stay to the right to yield to the motors. But it's also encouraged that bicyclists use the sidewalk whenever feasible and remain in the crosswalk areas when crossing.
And I'm sorry, before we close out, it just made me think that has your mission changed? You were saying you've been doing this for about 20 years or so. Obviously, we see this epidemic of opioids being used, drug use being used. And I don't know, do you also address those kind of issues, or do you address it more along the lines of driving safety and that kind of thing?
No, we address all variety of topics with the schools, K through 12. We believe that starting education early with students sets a mindset going forward, and by giving them the information up front and talking to them at their level, creating awareness at an early age is a good thing, and hopefully by the time they become an adult, they've already had those values and understanding instilled by the time they reach adulthood.
If a school district wants to have an Illinois State police officer such as yourself come out and speak to their school, how do they get a hold of you?
So all the school or teacher has to do is contact the safety education unit at safety_education at isp.state.il.us, or they can contact our main office at 217-524-2500.
Well, thank you for joining.
You're welcome.